Welcome back to Talk Tensors. We're going to be taking a deep dive into WritingBench, a comprehensive benchmark for generative writing. Now, this paper comes to us from some researchers over at Alibaba Group and Redmond, University of China, and it tackles, I think, a really fundamental question in AI right now. How do we actually measure the quality of writing that these large language models are producing?
Yeah, it's a question that I think has been kind of nagging at the AI community for a while now. We can all see that LLMs are getting incredibly good at generating text, stuff that's grammatically sound and even, somewhat coherent. But fluency alone doesn't make for good writing, right?
Right.
The real challenge lies in assessing these more nuanced aspects of writing, things like creativity, style, even just the effective use of source material.
So the researchers behind WritingBench, they argue that previous benchmarks just weren't really up to the task of evaluating these subtleties. What were some of the limitations that they identified?
Well, a lot of the existing benchmarks were pretty limited in scope. A lot of them focused on specific genres like fiction, or they relied on very basic prompts and evaluation criteria. And so they weren't really capturing this, huge range of writing tasks that LLMs are now being used for.
So how does WritingBench actually change the game then? What makes it so comprehensive?
Well, this benchmark casts a much wider net. It incorporates a whopping 1,239 diverse queries across 100 different subdomains of writing.
Wow, 100?
Yeah. I mean, think, everything from academic papers and legal documents to poetry and advertising copy. I mean, they really wanted to push these LLMs to their creative limits.
So how do they actually go about evaluating the LLM's performance on such a diverse range of tasks?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They've developed a system called query-dependent evaluation. And essentially, the LLM actually plays a role in creating the criteria by which it will be judged.
Wait, so the LLM is setting its own exam?
Kind of. Think of it this way. Let's say the prompt is to write a short story in the style of Ernest Hemingway, right?
Okay.
The LLM not only generates the story, but it also produces a set of criteria specifically tailored to evaluate that story, considering elements like Hemingway's signature short sentences and concise style.
Okay, so it's not a one-size-fits-all evaluation. The criteria actually adapt to the specific demands of each writing task.
Right, exactly.
That's pretty clever. I'm eager to hear how different LLMs performed on this benchmark. What did they find?
Well, they tested 16 different LLMs, including some familiar names, like ChatGPT, along with several open source models like Bloom and GPT-neo, and the results were quite revealing, showing that LLMs really do have distinct strengths and weaknesses. Some models excelled in specific domains, like education or factual writing, while others really struggled with more creative tasks, like poetry or storytelling.
So even in the realm of AI, it seems like specialization is still key. Not all LLMs are born to be poets.
Right.
What implications do these findings have for the future development of LLMs?
Well, I think it highlights the need to go beyond simply training LLMs on massive data sets and just kind of hoping for the best. We need to start thinking about how to train them for specific purposes and how to leverage their unique strengths. Imagine specialized LLMs that are designed for writing legal briefs or crafting compelling marketing copy.
That's interesting. It's fascinating to think about the potential for these tailored LLMs. I think this research also really underscores just how far we've come in LLM evaluation in general.
Yeah, definitely. Back in the early days, the focus was primarily on basic metrics like fluency and grammatical correctness. Researchers were essentially just trying to make sure that the LLMs weren't, spitting out gibberish.
Yeah, just getting them to string words together in a way that vaguely resembled human language was a pretty big achievement at the time.
Exactly. But as these models became more sophisticated, the need for more nuanced evaluation methods became, really obvious. We saw the emergence of benchmarks that used predefined sets of criteria, which, that was a step in the right direction, but still somewhat limited.
Because those static criteria couldn't really account for the dynamic and complex nature of human writing.
Exactly, exactly. And that's where WritingBench represents, I think a major leap forward. It moves us closer to an evaluation system that is truly nuanced, that's context aware and capable of assessing these finer points of AI generated writing.
It really feels like a game changer in the field of AI writing. But before we jump into our novel notion segment, I think it's worth taking a moment to just recap the key takeaways from this research.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is that not all LLMs are created equal when it comes to writing. This might seem like a rather obvious point, but it's something that earlier benchmarks, failed to really capture adequately.
And this understanding has, huge implications for how we develop and use these LLMs moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It raises the question, if we can, measure these subtle differences in writing style and ability, could we potentially train LLMs to adopt specific authorial voices?
Yeah.
Imagine an LLM that could write like Hemingway or Jane Austen.
Now that opens up a whole new world of possibilities, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and that's exactly what we'll be exploring in our novel notions segment.
Okay, so let's jump into those novel notions then. You really piqued my interest with this whole idea of training LLMs to mimic specific authorial voices. Is that something that's even technically feasible?
Well, it's certainly a tantalizing prospect, right? Imagine being able to commission an LLM to write a marketing campaign that channels the persuasive flair of David Ogilvy, or to draft a legal brief with the precision and eloquence of a Supreme Court justice.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
Yeah.
But what kind of hurdles would we actually need to overcome to make that a reality?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, would be data, right? To truly capture the essence of an author's voice, you wouldn't just need a few samples of their writing. You'd need a massive amount of data encompassing their entire body of work, and I'm not just talking about vocabulary here, right? We'd need to capture their sentence structure, their use of metaphor, their rhythm, their unique punctuation quirks, everything that contributes to their stylistic fingerprint.
So essentially, you need to feed the LLM everything that author ever wrote, right?
Yeah.
But even then, could an AI truly grasp those intangible qualities that make a writer truly unique? Those elements of creativity, emotional depth, even those accidental strokes of genius that you can't really quantify.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the $1 million questions, and frankly, I don't think we have definitive answers yet. And this is where the research, I think, it's really exciting, because we're pushing the boundaries of what AI can achieve. We're venturing into the realm of modeling not just language, but the very essence of human expression.
It's fascinating. As fascinating as all of this sounds, I can't help but think about the potential downsides. What kind of ethical concerns does this technology raise?
Oh, that's an essential question. The potential for misuse is certainly a major concern. Imagine, someone using this technology to create incredibly convincing fake news articles, or to impersonate a public figure. I mean, the implications for misinformation and deception are quite alarming.
It's like that classic, science fiction trope of technology falling into the wrong hands and being used for nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
But couldn't this technology also be used for good?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a flip side to every coin. Imagine being able to preserve the voices of writers who are, no longer with us. Think of reading a newly generated novel written by Shakespeare or Jane Austen. It could be a really powerful way to connect with literary giants from the past.
That's an incredible thought. And beyond preserving existing voices, what about the potential for accessibility?
Mm-hmm.
This technology could empower individuals who struggle with writing, perhaps due to disabilities, to express themselves in unique and compelling ways.
Yeah, it's a really powerful concept. By giving people access to different authorial voices, we could unlock new levels of creativity and expression.
So it seems like this technology has the potential to be both a powerful tool and a dangerous weapon, right? I mean, it really raises some fundamental questions about authorship and the nature of creativity. If an AI can mimic any writing style imaginable,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean for human writers?
Yeah, that's a question that I think is going to become increasingly relevant as LLMs continue to evolve. Does the ability to mimic style diminish the value of human creativity, or does it simply offer new avenues for expression?
It's almost like we're on the verge of a new renaissance where the lines between human and machine creativity become blurred.
Precisely. And as we enter this, kind of uncharted territory, I think it's important that we're having these conversations, grappling with these ethical dilemmas and considering the potential consequences of our technological innovations.
This has been a really thought-provoking conversation. It's clear that this technology has the power to revolutionize the way we write and consume written content. Yeah. But it's also crucial that we approach it with a sense of responsibility and caution.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the future of writing is unfolding before our very eyes, and it's up to all of us to shape it in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
So for our listeners out there, what's one key question they should be asking themselves as they contemplate the future of AI and writing?
I think a good one would be if LLMs can, master style and mimic any authorial voice imaginable, what does that mean for the future of human creativity? Is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? Or perhaps a bit of both?
That's a question that's going to stay with me for a long time. It feels like we've just, kind of scratched the surface of this whole topic. It's incredibly complex and fascinating at the same time.
It's true. I mean, the world of AI and generative writing is evolving at such an astonishing pace, and research like this WritingBench paper, it really gives us a glimpse into a future that's filled with incredible possibilities, but also, some serious challenges that we need to think about.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I kind of want to circle back to the WritingBench paper itself.
Yeah.
What makes this research so significant, in the broader landscape of AI writing?
Well, I think it's a groundbreaking piece of work because it provides us with a much needed framework for evaluating this, this ever increasing sophistication of LLMs when it comes to writing. Previous benchmarks, they were simply not equipped to handle the nuances of style and creativity and domain specific expertise that we're now seeing in these models.
And that query dependent evaluation method is a real game changer, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's such an elegant solution to the problem of how to assess AI writing in a way that's both comprehensive and contextually relevant.
I have to admit that whole novel notion segment really got my wheels turning. It's mind-boggling to think that we might one day live in a world where AI can, write in the style of any author, dead or alive.
Yeah, it's a thought that's both exciting and a little unsettling, isn't it? It really challenges our very notions of what it means to be an author and what constitutes originality.
It certainly does. Yeah. But one thing's for sure, this is just the beginning. As LLMs continue to evolve, the questions surrounding evaluation and creativity and the role of human writers are only going to become more complex and more pressing.
This research really underscores the importance of staying informed and engaging in these critical conversations and thinking deeply about the ethical implications of these advancements. I mean, the future of AI is being shaped right now, and it's our collective responsibility to ensure that it unfolds in a way that benefits all of humanity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. To our listeners, be sure to check out the show notes for a link to the full WritingBench paper. It's a must read for anyone who's interested in the future of AI and the written word.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
This is Talk Tensors, signing off.